passing the halfway mark of the Sports Fishing Championship. 6 down, 6 still to go. We also move from the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico to the warming waters of the Atlantic Ocean. A lot of eyes will be on the big eyes, ready to set their mark on the championship fish, but marlin will be caught this year at the South Jersey Yacht Sales Offshore Showdown.
This is Sport Fishing Championship.
And we're doing it live once again for YouTube. Ronnie Moore, I'm Robbie Floyd, and we are at the South Jersey Yacht Sales Offshore Showdown, Cape May, New Jersey. Stop number 7 of 12, Ronnie, of our 2023 campaign. Look at our field out there on the water. They're ready to catch some big ones today.
As you flawlessly stated it, Robbie, to kick off the show, it is a different tone this week. We are in the Atlantic, halfway through the overall SFC season, but stop 2 of the Atlantic, and we're making our way from way down in Florida for stop 1, way up north to the northeast.
The Jersey Shore again, just kicking off the second half of our season. We've already crowned a Gulf Division champion. We're looking to set the tone now for the Atlantic Division, where Polarizer is leading that. You can always follow us online. Just get your phone, click on that QR link, and follow all the action of the Sport Fishing Championship. The lower end of the Jersey Shore, Cape May, New Jersey. It's a great facility, the Canyon Club Resort as well as Marina. That's where they took off from this morning on this 3-day adventure. But Ronnie, they only get to fish 2 days.
Yeah, they have a unique lay day. It's day 1 we fish, day 2 is a lay day, day 3, which is Saturday, is the final day of fishing. And unlike the Gulf, Robbie, they head out each morning in the darkness of the night, basically early in the morning, and come back each day. That'll be an interesting strategy, see who targets some championship fish and then maybe transitions to bill fish.
I wonder if that boat signed up for the SFC. I mean, could you troll and try and catch a marlin and just follow the dolphins, see where they go? Looking at our championship for the Sport Fishing Championship, this isn't just the Gulf, which we've almost completed. There's only one more round left there. But in the SFC quantified, looks very similar to last year, doesn't it? A first, and second. There are 3 best finishers.
Yeah, and their worst finish of the year was the one that started out the season in Mississippi or in Louisiana, and then they head to Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida and go ahead and knock out 2 firsts and a second. And Robbie, they still have Puerto Rico and South Padre Island at store for them for another first place possible.
Yeah, so there's several teams, a team that has a second up till this point, a team that has a win other than quantified up till this point are still in the Sport Fishing Championship picture, because looking at our remaining events throughout the season, just because they didn't win the Gulf doesn't mean that they can't enter one of these Atlantic Division events, and the same thing goes for Puerto Rico at the end of the year.
Yeah, and we'll see a different kind of vibe as you see 3 of the next 4 are Atlantic. We'll end out the Gulf there in the first week of August before taking it down to Puerto Rico to end the season completely, Robbie. But it is different field sizes in the Atlantic, different targets that these teams are going for, but the same goal still there. Win your division, maybe 100 extra grand in your pocket, and then try to go for that million.
We're about to get busy, not only here at this tournament, but 5 out of the next 6 weeks, I believe, we will have Sport Fishing Championship events. But they were busy early this morning. I mean, they can't leave the area until, I think, 4:30. They can't fish until 8, but they had to get all that work done earlier today.
Yeah, some of the prep yesterday, but like you said, you got to leave early in the morning. Some of these teams leaving when it was still dark. You have the option to leave later if you so choose, but die-hard tournament anglers, I know that they were ready to go as soon as they were allowed to cross that boundary out there, because they only have a maximum run of, 100 miles or so. 125 miles. So unlike our Gulf events where we've seen long runs, maybe runs onto day 2, they're still making their moves. These teams have to make their moves daily.
Team Polarizer leading the Atlantic Division. They finished second back in Florida. That was the standalone Atlantic Division event. We knew that they would be a favorite. George Robinson, Bill Davis piloting that vessel. They would be the ones to look for from here on out.
We got introduced to them even before that Atlantic event. We saw them at the Catch event to kick off the SFC season, the fun event where I believe Bill Davis had the most success out of any of the captains there and boat operators as they, get the year started. We get introduced to them. Like we said, 125 miles, that's the rings that we're paying attention to today. 100 miles there, 125, the outward boundary. We see a lot of those teams pushing it in the last 25 miles of those rings.
Yeah, last year it was that 100-yard or that 100-mile mark. I keep wanting to say, yards instead of miles, but we are traveling for quite some time, hours of time for these guys and girls, boys and girls, young, old, they're all headed out there fishing right now. He's Ronnie, I'm Robbie. Welcome inside our SFC studios. And Ronnie, it's a key factor. It is a fact that last year, that Gulf stream that we always talk about hadn't quite worked its way inward that far north in the Atlantic. We were right there on that barrier. To give them that opportunity, they moved it out just a little bit. I think that opens the door for a lot more people.
Yeah, obviously the Gulf, the way it sets up with how many humps and drops and different structures to fish, the teams of the Atlantic, they were hoping for a little bit more productivity in the billfish category last year, but like you said, expanding that range just a little farther out, 25 more miles, can make all the difference. We should see plenty of championship fish, but also some billfish as well this week.
Again, we have kind of general locations, but several on the outside of the 100-mile mark. We were able to catch up with Team Polarizer, Mike Fitzpatrick, earlier today. Got a fish on. What's our first fish we're going to see for the South Jersey Outsails Offshore Showdown, Ronnie? You got a guess?
Just because of how last year played out, I'm going to have to say it's going to be one of our championship fish. We've seen a lot of yellowfin and a lot of mahi-mahi playing in the Gulf. Maybe we'll see a lot of numbers of those as well show up this week in the Atlantic.
Whatever it is, he is bowed up right here. The other thing we have not mentioned yet, other than the tease at the start of the show, is the big eye tuna, one of our championship fish that has not had the mark set yet. So our first big eye tuna that comes back will be our first qualifier for that $50,000.
And I think this tournament last year, the inaugural season, was the one that opened our eyes to the big eyes, and that became an additional fish for our championship fish category. Extra $50,000 for a 250 entry per angler. I feel like that's a low risk.
You wouldn't even do that, Ronnie, wouldn't you?
Yeah, low risk, high reward. I'd stop drinking, some sodas for a week and save up enough money to do it.
You're not supposed to be drinking sodas anyway.
Hey, well, that's my one crutch.
There's Captain Bill. Makes me turn on my Forrest Gump there, Captain Bill. We got to see him first at the catch back in Miami, moving around some of the NFL players. We had varieties of fish they could catch for points. Oh, okay, so they know now that they're hooked up with a yellowfin tuna. But Captain Bill decided to go for blue marlin. He was doing that swinging for the fences. We always hear about it. He was going for the big fish, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I liked his attitude of it.
Yeah, it kind of gave us little sparks and kind of shined a light on him early in the season. We were wondering how invested for the whole Atlantic series. He said, hey, I'm committed. This was the one question mark on the board, was would they show up for this one? They definitely did, and looking to gain some extra points after starting the season strong.
Officially, this is around 12:50 Eastern time on this catch, and that's why we question what it is, a yellowfin or a big eye. You see how bowed that rod is. It's big either way. I mean, Team Polarizer, this is their home waters, although they travel up and down the Atlantic. 64-foot Viking. Marcos, our cameraman, on board there, giving us the shots. Not making much ground, is he, right?
It is.
Right when you think you get up near the top, he wants to stay locked down. All right, made up a little ground. You see the gap, so this is a fish they would bring back. So we do not
They do different scoring as well for the tournament within the tournament, for sure.
Yeah, and we do not keep any of the marlin species, any billfish species, but in the championship fish, we need to bring them back to weigh them.
Yep.
And they're doing it on the local side of things too. These are worth extra money for them. So it's not just our big picture for the entire season. This fish could pay thousands of dollars here locally.
I think the way we set it up, 350 for blue marlin, 125 for white marlin, and then it goes down from there. But when you talk about these championship fish, it's a point per pound. So if you catch a 100-pounder or a 350-pounder, whatever it might be, that's all points to your bottom line for the tournament within the tournament.
Again, we partner with the best local tournaments, regional tournaments, national tournaments. The best in the world are here to crown one champion and award $1 million prize at the end of the season in Puerto Rico, late August. There's that yellowfin. This isn't our biggest championship fish, yellowfin, by any means, Ronnie, but this is going to be a points-paying fish for them on the local side of things, as well as it could be a side pot, and that is a good size
It's
fish.
a big one. You can hear the reaction from the team.
Yeah, that's a big one. I don't think it's going to be the 189-pounder we saw out of the Gulf Coast Masters at Gus Ranch, but that is a big fish.
Not too shabby for the first bite of the day either.
It's 100-something. It's a big. Got her
See
first
that
catch.
photo up on Sport Fishing Championship socials if it's not already there.
We will take a look at the championship divisions when we return to the Sport Fishing Championship from South Jersey, the Garden State. There's a lot to look at there in Cape Mee. A lot of things to do, a lot of things to see. Stick with us for more.
SFC coverage of the South Jersey Yacht Sales Offshore Showdown is sponsored by Frito-Lay, Margaritaville, South Padre Island, Denison Yachting, and by Salt Life.
When it comes to performance, comfort, and functionality, we've got you covered. Performance apparel designed by anglers to make your time on the water better than ever. Salt Life, the official apparel sponsor of the Sport Fishing Championship.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in. Plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
This spring, settle in and reconnect with one another. South Padre Island has so many great places to stay. Condos, resorts, and hotels. Oh my! Book your spring getaway today. And start making memories poolside with the people you care about most. Visit SoPadre.com.
When you're serious, you are as excited to wake up for a 4 a.m. fishing trip as you were when you were a kid. It means winning 3 World Sailfish Championships. It means you know what you need and what you don't. Being serious means seeking out the ultimate fishing machine, which is what Peter Miller has found in the unmatched handling, speed, and comfort of an Invincible.
Pine tar, bay rum, all natural, all natural.
It's time for your old soap to take a
hike with Dr. Squatch, the best natural men's soap, deodorant, shampoo, and so much more.
Dr. Squatch is for players like Justin Herbert, who are here to shake things up, who break records and hearts, who are tough on the outside and soft on the skin side, who only use natural performance enhancement and want their end zone to be fresh.
Go to drsquatch.com today. Feel like a man, smell like a champion.
Are you ready for the ultimate luxury fishing experience? Join the Sport Fishing Championship talent on the SFC Experience, where you'll explore incredible fisheries and enjoy world-class hospitality from diverse cultures and SFC partner locations. With the SFC Experience, you'll create unforgettable memories with friends, families, or colleagues. Book your trip today and embark on the adventure of a lifetime with the SFC Experience.
SFC coverage of the South Jersey Yacht Sales Offshore Showdown is sponsored by BioLite, Publix, Durabright, and by Hop Water, a non-alcoholic sparkling hopped water.
See, Ronnie, that's what you should be drinking instead of those acidic, soft drinks. You should be loading up on your hop water.
I probably could drop a couple pounds in the process, too.
Absolutely.
Get back to my fighting weight.
Hey, do some running around South Jersey. You can lose a pound or two. There's a lot to do. It's an old city. Cool things, a lot of nostalgia here. Vacationing spot for many from around the country, but especially a lot of New Yorkers come down there and go down to Cape May. Garmin Team Spotter shows you some of our teams out there on the water. Again, we're just highlighting some of our camera boats, but we have 23 total teams out there fishing for their share of the prize for the local event, but also a chance of winning $1 million on the Sport Fishing Championship. All right, he's Ronnie Moore. I'm Robbie Floyd. Let's bring in the third member of our team, Katie Sawyer. Good to be back, Katie. Good to see you out there in the great weather. And you ready to get this done? I'm ready for another big tournament on the Sport Fishing Championship.
I'm really happy to be here, guys. Thanks for having me. Things are looking really good in Cape May. We have a lot of teams fishing this week, and I'm excited to see what's brought back to the dock and what's released back out there.
All right, I want to talk about that ring. We showed it. We talked a little bit about it. Last year it was a 100-mile barrier. Now it's 125. How's that going to affect the anglers? How's that going to affect these boats? Some can make that run and do it pretty quickly. Others can't. What's been the word there on site?
Oh, that's a great question, Robbie. As you mentioned, as you guys already touched on, they're extending the barrier, the boundary line for those faster boats. That's a competitive advantage. But we got to keep in mind we have a pretty defined lines in, lines out time. What's really cool about this fishery is that there are two very great productive canyons just 70 miles, 65 to 70 miles offshore. We have the Baltimore Canyon and the Wilmington Canyon. And what we are seeing this year that we did not see last year is a little bit warmer water. Last year, the water was in the high 60s. It's not very prolific for a lot of billfish, but this year it's in the 70s, and I'm feeling really good about it.
That's what I was just about to touch on, Katie. Was there some optimism on the dock, just knowing how a lot of these northern states, whether it's freshwater or saltwater, they've had a lot warmer summers than they've expected? Maybe those waters obviously have warmed up and that people are expecting more billfish this year in this tournament compared to maybe Big Eye focus last year.
Well, as we touched on, yes, the currents are looking good. The water is a little warmer than last year, but we still have a lot of teams, Ronnie, that are targeting these Big Eye. They are so excited about the championship fish division expanding to Big Eye. They have a lot of Big Eye here, and we have a lot of teams that were specifically going out there with Big Eye tackle in mind, going for these, hoping for that championship fish pot for sure.
Thanks a lot, Katie. We'll be joining you at the top of the hour on CBS Sports Network. Ronnie, that's a great thought. If you're one of these teams, go out there for the championship fish. If I'm not really good at billfish, then I need another option, and these are those options.
Well, and Katie mentioned it. I mean, we talked about how last year the Big Eye was kind of revealed to us in this event, and she said that would be a focus of many. But the Wahoo, we saw it get taken by Jacelyn Berthelot and Team Rising Suns in our last event down in Florida.
Yeah, the ECBC. What's crazy about this is the Wahoo, the Yellowfin, and the Mahi all were bettered, but the only one that did the buy-in, it was Jacelyn Berthelot, so she holds that in mark. Now we're looking at the Mahi. Again, this happened prior at last year was Angelo Depolo, but now just look, it's Gus Rance with 33.6. That's still leading there. To show you how big one of the fish were at the ECBC, 59.8.
Almost double.
Could be the leader, but that's not the case. And just in case you're wondering, Gus Rance caught both.
He was on them at the Gulf Coast Masters, taking both the yellowfin tuna and the mahi-mahi top weight, 189.6. That's a solid one. We saw 206 last year. Will we see bigger than 189 for the yellowfin this year?
But just like at the ECBC, I think it was 191, so it would have beat it by 2-3 pounds. It's going to be a challenge for these guys. And the thing is, they're not just leaving and then coming, or leaving and staying out like we saw in the Gulf Division. They get to come back and forth for the 2 days. What does it take to get points, Ronnie? I mean, our points stay the same. They may have a different point structure, but ours stay the same.
Yes, and all of our points are based on our billfish species. The blue marlin, white marlin, spearfish, sailfish, and swordfish 100-point bonus for the first blue marlin caught. That's obviously still on the table in this tournament so far. Blues were not caught last year. Maybe they'll get caught this year, at least one of them. Maybe some white marlin 125-point ones get caught. And then obviously we know how prevalent the sails have been in the Gulf. We may see some of the other species. I think we saw sword last year, teams fishing at night.
It's some of the Atlantic events for sure, but this was earlier today. Team Wise Guys, 58-foot Ocean, Yvonne Seville, owner of that boat. Junior, our cameraman, looks like they are loaded up there. That should be Brian Martin Jr., I believe, on the rod and reel.
And this is their home waters as well, I believe, based out of Cape May. For Wise Guys.
Coming?
Earlier we saw that yellowfin, and it was a big yellowfin, and he's making up much quicker ground than we saw out of Mike Fitzpatrick on the polarizer. Hey, want to give a shout out to Polarizer's, what is it, Christian Toronto? It's his birthday today.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Happy birthday, Chris.
Good on that outrigger, that outside? Looks like it from here.
All right, if it's another yellowfin, again, this was earlier today. This should have been about, what, 9:40 this morning, one of our first catches. The first reported catch was 9:02 by Chain Reaction. Roxanne Club with the first reported catch, and they are required at this event to call in their fish.
There's no sandbagging.
No,
they're required to call them in, but
are
is
you
it
talking
like
to
30
Greg
minutes?
when you say that?
Yeah, I'm talking to Greg Trenner and my guy Captain Blake with Team All In.
Who won a tournament, but we didn't know that they were leading.
Yeah, we didn't know they were. Hey, it was good drama for the final day, though.
Yeah. All right, let's see the colors they're using. They like that purple hue. In doing the research last year for this tournament, this is where some of the original green, like Coke bottle colors, like remember the Coke models were green?
I'm not that old.
You don't? Oh, you're right. You don't know that. They were only using plastic.
I do know.
They were only using plastic when you were a kid. The green Coke bottles, actually, they would put those in the water, use them as teasers, and I didn't know that until I read that. Wow. Speaking of Team Polarizer, Christian's birthday, brother. What do they have on here? And George Robinson, the owner of that boat, the namesake of the South Jersey Yacht Sales. And this is Polarizer earlier today. This is the first day of the tournament. Can't tell. I don't know that might be Chris Recchio. I don't know if that's George or Recchio. His back's to me.
I'm going to let you be the one to make that guess, okay, Robbie?
I know Jorge when I see him. His son Greg caught the blue marlin when we were in St. Augustine. Oh, we got a mahi, our first mahi of the day. So a couple of yellowfins.
Picking up where we left off in the Gulf, this year's championship fish, I have seen more for the couple events I was on site and for the ones we've done live in studio. I've seen more championship fish getting brought in and caught. They seem so much more plentiful this year, or at least a focus towards them for most of these teams, no matter what division you're in.
Yes, that is George Robinson, in case I can't see him from the front. Making him ground on that mahi-mahi. Again, this isn't big enough to lead our mahi-mahi points leader of 33.6. If it doesn't do that, they're still bringing it in nonetheless. Use it for points in the local side of things for the tournament, but also that could be some good eating tonight. Throw it on fish, keep it solid. Better one. And these are, no, there's George right there. That must have been Recchio. That's George with the.
You said
there's George. George doing a great job with the. George doing a great job with the water hose there. So that had to be Chris Recchio. All right, George, I didn't want to misidentify you. You're doing great work with that water hose, my man.
You know what? I'll let you take this out to commercial. Get it right, Robbie, okay?
Keep it up. Keep it up, Polarizer. They're on the fish. We're going to look back at the last event, the East Coast, the Emerald Coast Blue Marlin Classic. We're on the East Coast now.
I told you, get it right. Oh, we'll do better in our last segment.
We'll do it the next time.
In Puerto Rico, we call ourselves Boricua. We're proud, passionate, and full of life. On our island, adventure finds you. Strangers aren't strangers for long. The size of the audience doesn't change the beauty of the music, and we celebrate every last ray of sun. Live Boricua.
Salt Life, the official sunglass partner of the Sport Fishing Championship.
Hey y'all, I'm Amanda Shaw. We all know Louisiana is as fun as all get out. So get out, take a road trip, and explore our state. Fill her up, then try a new restaurant that's as fun-loving as it is food-loving. Grab the family and take off for monumental adventures at our 21 state parks. Or take a magical minivan tour along our 19 scenic trails and byways. Louisiana's a trip. Take one today.
This is Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser. Plan your road trip at LouisianaStaycation.com.
Whether you like to ride the wind, find your secret cove, or reel them in. Plot your paradise with GPS Map Series from Garmin.
When you're serious, you are as excited to wake up for a 4 a.m. fishing trip as you were when you were a kid. It means winning 3 World Sailfish Championships. It means you know what you need and what you don't. Being serious means seeking out the ultimate fishing machine, which is what Peter Miller has found in the unmatched handling, speed, and comfort of an Invincible.
SFC coverage of the South Jersey Yacht Sales Offshore Showdown is sponsored by Garmin, Invincible Boats, Visit South Padre Island, and by SFC Experience.
I tell you, Ronnie Moore, I want some of that SFC experience. I know, they can go out there and fish with Peter, or you, I guess, if they wanted to. I don't know that they'll catch near as much, but be a part of that. You and I take them out. You want to talk about a good time?
Yeah, we'll have a fun laughs and smiles will be had. But, Peter might be the one.
Hey, and if I took anybody out, I might want to take off from Martha's Vineyard. It is nice there. Oak Bluffs Blue Water Classic next week. We'll be covering it live on YouTube as well as the CBS Sports Network. But taking off out of Falmouth there, great harbor. It's awesome. Everything about it is just nice. And I understand why the people, even from down south, go up to New England and spend some time and vacation.
For sure. Martha's Vineyard going to be a great second stop of this kind of, like you said, 5 events in 6 weeks that the SFC will be doing. This will be the second in a row, and 2 out of the next 3 or 4 for the Atlantic will be the OBBC.
Right, and it's also a party and a good time out there. Testing, I was about to say, I know we're on YouTube, I was testing some of the beverages there, and I found a new one whenever I was in Martha's Vineyard last year.
So you're saying because you knew we were on YouTube?
Yeah, I couldn't say that on CBS, but yeah, Oak Bluffs Blue Water Classic. A lot of these teams are going to be going up there fishing that tournament as well as this one, and now that we have the White Marlin Open, you 100%. Can actually drop south and hit this entire stretch in about a month and a half time.
Yeah, $1 million for the overall SFC kind of came into the focus for a lot of teams when we added the White Marlin Open. Now it's 5 and 5 for the Atlantic and 5 for the Gulf. Now we kind of have an even disbursement if you want to compete against it.
Well, we're kicking off that run of Atlantic Division events, the South Jersey Yacht Sales Offshore Showdown. We had one Atlantic stop about, a month and a half, 2 months ago, back at St. Augustine. Polarizer finished second, so on the SFC, they finished second in the overall tournament, so they're leading the SFC Atlantic Division right now. And we haven't even talked about that, Ronnie, though. We fit into the local side of things and their overall point structure. So even if you're the highest finishing team in the SFC, you might not necessarily win that tournament. But this is one thing they're going to be very key to. We've been in the Gulf, we've been into the Caribbean, but that Gulf Stream needs to make its way inward as it heads up the Atlantic.
Yeah, and Katie talked about it perfectly. That 125, as you see right in the middle of our screen, the coast of North Carolina as we make it up towards the northeast, and then it curves off even farther to the east. That 125-mile ring, that barrier for, you know, the off-limits portion of it, that now has a little bit more of that drop and a little bit more of that current in play. A lot more opportunities for success, especially on the billfish side of it.
Well, those canyons are what they're looking for. Wilmington, Baltimore, there's even Phoenix, and it looks like Polarizer's locked up on one of those canyons.
Hello, we're on Team Polarizer, 64 Viking with Captain Bill Davis at the wheel. We've been looking at the water temperature charts from ROFs the past several days. Tracked some water out offshore the Wilmington Canyon. Looks like a really good break. It's some nice Gulf Stream eddy water. It's nice color blue today, and we've been watching it. We figured there's got to be some billfish in here. We had a couple small dolphin this morning, mahi-mahi. We also raised a white marlin, but didn't get a bite out of it. So we think we're in the right spot. We're really looking forward to competing in the SFC today.
Ronnie, I told you there'd be marlin to be had, so they raised one up, just couldn't get her to bite.
Yeah, and that's been, you know, obviously there's a lot more numbers opportunities, it seems, in the Gulf, especially early in the season, but for Polarizer, that's a good sign that they at least saw one, had one interact, but not execute and get the points on the board. But like you said, the opportunity for them, I think you said second place in the tournament to start the Atlantic. They got as many points as they possibly could there, basically, other than the top prize. They are now in a good position over the next 3 events. If they get a couple first, second place maybe in those smaller field tournaments, they may be compared to quantified points-wise.
We know second place points, well, we tied with quantified, right? They're Gulf Coast Masters, they did that. So now Polarizer knows they need 2 wins to match quantified's total for the Sport Fishing Championship. Now, aside from the big picture, they're trying to win that the Atlantic division as well. There's $100,000 on the line, whoever wins the Atlantic side of things. And there is George, Jorge, as I like to call him. That is George.
Right. I did want you to get it right.
He works a water gun like mad and a rod and reel. Ronnie, I don't know if you remember back at, and was that Greg, I think, might have been his son, possibly there to the left. They parked their boat at the house in Florida just before St. Augustine, and somebody came on board in the middle of the night and stole their equipment. Yeah.
Really?
Real.
Kicking off the season that way. That's not the way you want.
They just finished a tournament down in the Caribbean, and they were working their way up to St. Augustine and parked it down near West Palm or somewhere down there, Jupiter. And yeah, some lowlife had the nerve to not just get them off the racks. He went inside the cabin and did it. So yeah, horrible story there. They're back. They were able to have somebody ship them, you know, more equipment really quick and good enough to finish second. All right, if that were a billfish, that would be a qualified catch. It's not. It's one of our championship fish, I'm assuming. Another little dolphin. That's a She's going home with us, fellas. Oh, I didn't take long. Oh, that's funny, and I know funny. I mean, you want to talk about flipping them on board. I mean, that went straight into the well. Might catch a marlin with that one later.
Polarizer mentioned it in their kickoff to the segment, talking about the numbers they've gone through, some small dolphin, aka mahi-mahi.
I guess, huh?
They have put some numbers on the board for sure.
And, you know, we say that those are going in the live well or going into ice and they'll eat that and count, but that actually is a marlin bait. Typically on the Sport Fishing Championship, but here they cannot use live bait to catch the fish, so that's a little different. We would see them just throw it back on the line and send her out there to catch them with another dive. Good chemistry. Remember that boat from last year?
Yeah. You had mentioned it earlier, I think.
Chucker Barty.
One of our more recent catches on the board as we looked at early, because they took off so early today. Yep. At this point in the day, they have a lot of fishing done.
But they caught, this was the one, I can't remember if you said or somebody else said that the grandfather of Asha saw his granddaughter on television for the first time, was really, you know, like that was cool. I'm watching my granddaughter out there fishing live on CBS Sports Network, and now he's getting to do it back-to-back years. And this is a pretty good sized fish, I'm guessing. They've got the big equipment out.
Got her ready to go, and it is very cool with the SFC has been able to shine some light on the young anglers and all of the different backgrounds these people have.
She is strapped in now, but I mean, looks like she's in for a fight here, Ronnie. There's no fighting chair. She's locked in, and you got to have that magic spot between drag. How much can I afford to hold on to? And
when it's time to make up ground, it's time to make up ground.
Yeah, and or when it's too much and it wants to pull me on the other side of that boat. I mean, look right there. I mean, that's everything she got. We've seen Jacelyn Berth a lot. I know you talked about how short she was in the last episode. She hates you forever.
I did not say the S word.
But Asha's given up a few LBs to the rest of the crew. Now I can explain it, and we see now this could be a big championship fish. We talk about hundreds of pounds in a big eye tuna. Typically.
Okay, put it in the low gear. Sit down. All right, John. Wait. He backs up. Hold on.
She's in for a fight, though, Ronnie.
Yeah, some of these fish, when they go deep, that's you don't want your fish to jump standard, but
when we're out and they're up, you can back up to them and you can kind of make up that ground. But right here, you don't
keep them coming to you. When they just go down and sit, sometimes it's so hard to bring them all the way up through the water column.
Yeah, he's saying you got to keep working. You got to get that fish up.
Nice fish. Massive. Okay, ready? Two more. Almost here. I see a swivel, sweetie. I see a swivel. I want you to go for that swivel.
So what he's saying, he's trying to get all the way up to that leader.
Nice.
Let's see what it is. All the way up to the leader, and it'll be a qualified catch. You can either do that, or the mate can make contact with the other side.
Go.
And make contact with the leader. What do we have here? Championship fish. It's some kind of tuna. It's a tuna.
Kill that fish, please. Oh, come on. Thank you.
He missed it with a gaff the first time, so we knew it wasn't a billfish when we saw that gaff come out, and it is a tuna. So a big eye.
We're good, John. We're in the head. And here comes our big eye.
That is a big eye, like you said, Robbie.
Ooh, and no wonder. So I mean, it could have been a billfish. It could have been a big eye. That's a good sized fish. That fish weighs more than she does.
We have now seen a yellowfin, a mahi, at least one, and now a big eye, all represented. And then we've heard about white marlin. So for day one, good productivity so far from our teams out there on camera.
Asha's bait.
Yeah. Actually, I'll take breakfast first. I'll tell you what. Come here. That was amazing, girl. That was absolutely amazing. Oh, I couldn't be more proud of you. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so proud of you. That's 2+.
And that team too, that is a family that everybody knows. I told you it was bigger than she was. Look at that. Taller and denser.
I hate to say this, Robbie, but it seems like that boat has some good chemistry going on.
Oh, I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when you would stoop that low.
I wasn't going to let Peter steal it tomorrow. I had to say it today.
It's early in the program. We got a big eye. We've set a championship fish leader, right, Ronnie? I mean, we haven't even talked about that. We haven't seen those ones, but I mean,
we just got to get a weight on it, 100%.
Yeah, now we just need to see the size, and we will for tomorrow's show. Right? We'll be on YouTube tomorrow. The Gulf Division already been wrapped up, 10,000 points. They're only 500 shy of a perfect score.
Yeah, which is what it was last year as well. And they still have one more event to go in the Gulf, but like you said, theoretically wrapped up the Gulf points-wise at the Emerald Coast Blue Marlin Classic, Sandestin, Florida. The third stop in as many weeks for the Gulf. About as fast as the Gulf started, we got 4 of the 5 events knocked out.
Yeah,
and the ECBC was special.
Yeah, and with the Gulf Coast Masters and Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic going back to back, it really kind of built the momentum for Quantified, who was not only trying to defend the championship from the week prior, but trying to do it here at the ECBC, and did just that in a record week for Quantified and for the tournament, for that matter. 13 billfish caught, had never been done before in the tournament.
Absolutely phenomenal how the last 3 weeks of their tournament season has panned out for them. Sailfish, white marlin have been the features for the last couple events for them, but they added 2 blues this week. Kyler on board, Justin Drummond is the captain. Couldn't have echoed any more compliments for his crew. The weather that they've gone through the last few weeks, how efficient they have been execution-wise. This team has put on a show in the Gulf the last 3 weeks, which is why they've racked up a first, and a second.
11 sailfish, 2. These are very critical too, because blue marlin will be the tiebreaker, and they got 2 blue marlin too, and we hadn't seen them out of that out of quantified yet this year.
When we talk about the tiebreaker, like you said, if it comes into play, one of the other top 3 teams there, Rebecca, is also a light tackle team, one that goes after the same strategy somewhat that Quantified does. Meanwhile, All In, they are all in on the biggest and baddest in the Gulf, which is the blue marlin. So they may have less quantity, but they obviously will beat the other teams in tiebreakers for that if their success stays at the top like it's been. But
well, they can breathe
doubling up on
easy.
sailfish here.
They can breathe easy with 4 blue marlin in Louisiana. That was big. I mean, that again, another first and a second.
Consistent on blues is so hard.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we see Quantified able to stay consistent on whites and sailfish.
It's going to give them those overall points, but if it comes down to the tiebreaker, that'll actually give them something to look forward to. They'll know really what they've got to do when they get to South Padre Island. Make sure you visit South Padre Island. You can come down and join us that first week in August, which happens to be the home waters of Team Quantified.
Just wrapped up the 2023 ECBC. My crew is a group of gangsters in that cockpit that is unmatched by anybody else. I'm telling you, these guys, if I can tell you the amount of work reeks reward, that's what you got right there, and that's why the results are proving themselves right now, is that the amount of time and effort and the bait rigging and the everything that goes into it, the nights with no sleep, the rough weather, 8-10 foot lightning, thunderstorms, I don't care. There was nobody ever gave me any flack. I never got attitude. We just dug harder and gave results, and that's what just happened.
Sandestin looks awesome when you're looking at from Ben Oliver's drone there, but it's not always that way out there in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. Quantified did it better than anyone else. Congratulations to that team, who only has one returning member other than Justin Drummond, and that's his son, and he's not kicking. You know, his son's not kicking his dad.
No.
You know, he's not going to beat it.
I will say, like we mentioned it, the last 3 weeks, they went from not placing any points in the first one after winning $1 million. They won $1 million in our first year. You go and struggle in the first one, and then you reel off a second and 2 first, and now you're the top dog again. Said you gave everybody a week to get a heads up, Robbie.
Going from 0 to hero really, really quick. 3 weeks time frame, a second, a first, and a first. Now 2-time defending champ. As we're looking through our catch alerts from this morning, starting off at 9:02 with that yellow fin of Roxanne Club. Board chain reaction. But one thing you noticed there, Ronnie, day 1, middle of there, 10-10 digger with our first billfish of the tournament, a released white marlin. We have 100% more billfish in this tournament than we did last year. So the Gulf stream has moved its way in a little bit closer. They're going to probably catch more today, and they still got another day on Saturday.
Plenty of yellowfin, mahi-mahi, and we mentioned the big eye tuna we just saw from Good Chemistry earlier this morning. Hey, it's either the 25 miles of extra parameters for the playing field, or maybe the Gulf Stream just did its job this year, and you got them for this week's tournament.
And we heard George talk about how they raised a white marlin, couldn't get it to bite. We're going to be on CBS Sports Network at the top of the hour. Make sure you join us in about a little less than 20 minutes time. We'll go through those catches. Once again, anything new pops up, we'll be sure to tell you. I think Devin Chakrabarty might have another fish on.
Oh, don't give it away.
No, I can do that because we're going to see it, hopefully, on CBS Sports Network here at the top of the hour. I didn't say what it was, Ronnie. Yeah. What was it?
Hey, I look forward to Hey, I'm not looking. I want to be surprised as the viewers are, so we'll see you on CBS Sports Network.
All right, Ronnie, let's do it. We'll see you at the top of the hour on CBS Sports Network.